So the business thing you really wanted to get into, right?
Yeah, I really think that that's something to talk about.
It bothers other people more than it bothers me. I'll tell you that.
But that's because you're used to it. You expect it.
I'm inoculated by it. I really am.
Yeah.
In fact, I kind of like it. I mean, it's
It's a badge of
a
honor.
huge. It's a huge honor to be up there with legacy businesses that have been there forever and they're so successful and they got such amazing name brand recognition. They got great. Those are great owners. I mean, I pretty much know almost every person on that list. The owners of all those businesses. Those are all great people.
So has this been going on for, I mean, how long do you think this has been going on? Because
I
it's MAGA based.
I'd heard about this list about a year ago, and it was just kind of like something that was going around. And sure enough, I saw that post. Shout out to Jeremy Armstrong. He put it out there. He copied and pasted it, but he took it down because of all the overwhelming support. And that's the experience that I got. Other people that have been on the list and said that they were on the list.
So we should really kind of explain that because not everybody is from here.
Yeah,
May not
let's
know what we're
go
talking
into
about. It's
it,
like
yeah.
a boycott against you and your business because of your political beliefs, basically, right?
Yep, that's right. Yeah, I mean, it said, it was from Reddit. It was a Reddit post, and it said, well, yeah, there's a bunch of MAGA supporting businesses, and I recommend people don't go to these businesses or give a penny to them. And it said, oh yeah, there's their list, and he's like, yeah, and then he puts the list of all the businesses, and my company was on there. A lot of other legacy brands are on there. It's whatever. Other people that I know have been through it have actually gained business from it. There's more of us than them. And from what I understand, when they put it on Community Watch, which is like a page of like 40,000 followers here in Las Cruces, it had overwhelming support. Everybody on there was trying to give the businesses love, and so they
It
took
had
it down.
more support than anti.
Yeah, and that's like the main thing with this whole thing. It's like this has got to hit home hard with you guys. And me and Alice talk about it all the time, but people still have this illusion that the Democrats have power here still. I mean, collective power. Like President Trump won southern New Mexico, okay, with the anomalies in the elections that we've had here. And so, and that proves it. When they posted it, overwhelming support, had to take it down. That just shows there's more of us than them, guys. There's no reason to be ashamed of being a MAGA Republican. There's no reason to be ashamed to be a Republican at all. There is more of us than them, and there's probably way more than we even know.
I want to back up that as well because when President Trump, the last election, and I think we did it twice, our little sign deals at Telshore and what is that, Telshore and Loman,
Yeah.
where there's just most biggest concentrated traffic. And William Bierman, who is a very strong Republican, he's the one that organized it. So when we were out there with our signs, vote for Trump, it was clear Trump was, yeah, we got some fingers and we got some F's, F-U, blah, blah, blah. But overwhelmingly, we got a lot of honks and thumbs up and support. And that's a lot because, and in the past elections, people weren't brave enough to do that either, especially here in Little Las Cruces.
No, not even close.
And that really impressed me. So I have no doubt what you're saying, it's true.
Yeah, it proves the point right there. If there was any semblance of real hardcore Democrat support, if they put that list up there, we should have been afraid and hammered and upset and disappointed, and it would have stayed up there, and it would have got all kinds of negative comments, and it would have just gotten all kinds of negative viral push. But the opposite happened. They had to take it down because we were getting way too much love than they wanted. So and here's the thing too, is it doesn't bother me because I've been studying this stuff for a long time. I've been deeply involved with it, probably a little too involved. But what are you gonna do? You want to save humanity. You want to save the children. You got to do what you got to do. It always backfires on them, no matter what. Like especially, it seems like it's getting faster. Like back in the day when I first started supporting President Trump, it would backfire over time. Like a year, 6 months, 2 years.
Take a while.
Take a while to see like the blowback. Now, I guarantee, and it probably already, because here's the thing, the reason why I want to talk about it too, because I was getting business services at a particular business. I won't say where, but I was talking to some of the staff, and they were blown away with how much knowledge I had of the service I was about to undergo. So much so that the owner came out and talked to me, and they were like, "How the hell do you know so much about this?" So I go into my experience, and turns out that they were like, "Did you hear about that list that's going out with these businesses?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm on that list." And, well, what's the name? And I told her, and she's like, "Oh, wow, you are on there." And then we go on and on about how much we have in common, and we see everything. We have a very similar worldview. And that's probably going to spark and emanate throughout the community because this is a very powerful business. I'm not going to say which one, but it's a very powerful, powerful business. And now I have a new connection that's an awesome human being. I'm so honored to have a connection. So, yes, please keep putting it out there.
We should thank them.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that because I think it's going to help conservative businesses like Z.
It already has.
So
It already has. I'm not even kidding, guys. It's just, and that's why I'm not, hey, you got to be stoic through these kinds of things because you're going to get hit with all kinds of negative stuff, people hating on you. You're going to get hit with all kinds of love, people supporting you. And as long as you don't go too far into either direction, you kind of try to stay in the middle emotionally, you get through the storms. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm just so stoic about things. I've been hit and whammed over the head with the local government attacks for years, almost a decade now. So things like this, they make me happy because look what already happened. So yeah, you hit it over the head.
you've probably like developed a Trump toughness. You know, it's happened so much. What are you gonna do?
You know, it just makes you stronger. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and you just wait. It's going to backfire on them. You use it as ammo. You turn negatives into positive. The whole thing, it becomes a pattern of how you persevere through wickedness and through darkness, and it's something that humanity has gone through for centuries, and I don't think that this is going to be the last that I have to deal with it for my business.
And I'm just thinking about the other side. So I'm sure there were people that read that and they're like, oh, they just, because the Trump derangement syndrome is so strong, they said, oh, they probably were grateful. I'm so glad they've identified these businesses. I'm not going to go there. And, you know, I'll be honest, because if there were a couple of businesses and maybe I knew one was conservative and one was not, and they were equal in service or what I needed, I probably would go to the conservative one. Okay, I might do that because I'd rather give them business. Now, to me, it's about quality. Okay, so I don't want you to take that as well. I'm not conservative, Alice. So it doesn't mean I'm never going to utilize your business. I don't know, and it really shouldn't. You know, it shouldn't matter because if you're not out there forcing me to vote the way that you vote. But I just find that so fascinating. It's Little Las Cruces. Again, I just like to remind people because a lot of people watch us from around the country.
From afar.
And thank you very much for doing that. But Las Cruces, we're about 115,000 people in
Yep.
population. And the whole county, and geographically, we're pretty big. The county, Doña Ana County, is about 225, 250,000. I may not be exactly right, but I think I'm okay in the ballpark there. So we're not a huge community. But you know what we are? We are a strong community because I really believe we're still family-based, neighborhood values. There's still a lot of good friends that I have here from when I used to live here. All my family's here, and you have that same, and just wonderful people that I have met here in the local Republican Party. So I'm just going to keep fighting because we have to save this community. Believe me, it is worth saving. After all, what's our name? Las Cruces, City of the Crosses, okay? And there's 3 crosses right out there that identify.
It's a very religious community, and it's had its ups and downs of the city overall. But you know, I love this community. It's under attack. You know, we don't really have a representative government here. But even still, through all that, this is still a pretty badass place to live. You know, it's really convenient. It's a low cost of living. The food's great. The people are great. The weather's great. So we make the best of what we can. And as far as my businesses, I'll end on this note. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. I know it's going to end up backfiring on them. And all the other businesses that were out there are like, it's probably going to help them too. So, you know, they're just getting desperate to me, right? I mean, it seems like they're just getting desperate.
That's pretty desperate. I think you're right about that. Did you recognize most of those businesses?
I knew all of them, yeah.
You knew all of them.
Yeah. I think there was 1 or 2. I didn't know the owner, but I'd heard of the business. You know.
And were they relatively, they probably were small business.
No, they're all pretty, they all
big
do
businesses.
pretty well. They all do
so
pretty
they
good.
were really trying to go after.
And what I found particularly interesting is they included mine in there, and I just opened my company like in November.
That's why I say you are wear that as a badge of honor.
Well, we are doing very well. You know, thank you to all the support that I've had so far. You know, I worked my ass off, but besides that, you know, I noticed that there was a lot of businesses that weren't included on that list that I do know that are hardcore Republican MAGA supporters that were more successful than the ones that are on the list. So it was almost kind of like they were picky choosy. It was kind of odd.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I thought that was kind of weird, though.
Any connection that you can think of that they?
I'm not going to list the businesses they didn't list, but you know, those businesses that were on there were mostly like Marcy's not really MAGA. You know, nothing against Marcy, but she's not out there wearing Trump hats like me. You know, she's seemingly, I don't think she's even registered Republican anymore. So it was odd for me to see that the game was on there. You know, it was very, it was very strange. I don't think that was fair to Marcy at all. There's a lot of people on that list. I've never seen them publicly tout. Now, for me, obviously, they should put me at the top and put freaking American flags around my name or my business, you know, but a lot of people on that list, it didn't seem very fair at all. I've never seen a few of those business owners ever come out publicly and say they're MAGA. I've never seen them come out wear MAGA hats or say they're Republican this or Republican that. So it's very strange to me. I was talking about that with the business over the weekend. They're like, "Hey, did you notice that this person was on, this person was on there?" And we didn't really. Yeah, very interesting.
That really is. Was there someone there that showed up that you? Well, you said you knew all of them. There wasn't a surprise there.
No,
for
not
you.
a surprise on any one of them. No.
That's very interesting. Well, that's a very powerful. It's a Facebook site, group site. It's a group site, right? It's not a page.
Yeah, it was a community watch page, and then it was a copy. It was a screenshot of a Reddit post of all the businesses listed, and then they took that screenshot and put it on the Las Cruces community watch page.
They have a lot of followers
40,000 is pretty strong. I think more now.
for this community. That's
Yeah.
probably one of maybe the largest that I know of, local one.
You know, that community watch page has been horrible since the beginning. I got banned on it a few times. I've gotten into horrible arguments with people there. I don't go to that page at all anymore. And on my personal account, I get more traction than that page does sometimes, most of the time anyway, so it's whatever. I just don't like that kind of stuff.
While we're talking about Facebook pages, we do have a Chips and Salsa Show New Mexico Facebook page.
That's right.
So we'd love if you just like it and follow it. We're just trying to gain followers, and we're trying to post stuff relative to Las Cruces in New Mexico there as well, and our show, so that way you can find our show as well too. So thank you very much for your support as always. Staying on the local level,
Yeah, stay there.
let's talk about the fact that we recorded the show right before the official vote went through for the Realize Las Cruces.
Yeah.
And the Realize Las Cruces, just to remind you, it was a zoning that the city council put together. And our good friend Sarah Smith kind of was like one of the main coordinators, and a bunch of us gathered signatures. And the whole purpose of it was, I'm giving just like a really short synopsis, we had to gather so many signatures of Las Cruces voters, and just to have that, instead of just the city council putting it in motion, put that on the ballot that's upcoming in November. Well, there's a lot of little details and complications and questions, and we probably need to have Sarah on at one point to explain better to us. But if you go to our Facebook pages or you go on YouTube, you can get a lot more information. The city council, except for Councilor Matisse, voted to pass it through. So it's not going to be on the ballot. It's going to be a reality. And in effect, I think overall a message was, it was pretty good. A lot of the stuff was there had some good stuff in there, but it needed some tweaks. It wasn't, it could have been better. But I do want to mention, like I was telling you before, about our good friend Steve Coletti, who is with Coalition of Conservatives in Action. I wore my shirt on purpose to honor these guys, because they're conservatives in action. Steve Coletti is an officer of leadership there, and he got up in front of the city council, and gosh dang it, I thought I had written down the numbers, but I don't have them in front of me, but I'm pretty much in the ballpark. He said, in a matter of a few weeks, we as a group, we collected I think it was over 4,000 signatures. They threw a bunch of them out, so we didn't meet their criteria, and that's why they couldn't put us on the ballot. But he said, we collected these many signatures, and he reminded them that in the last election for the city council, only about, I'm going to say 6,400, so just a couple thousand more, essentially, actually voted and put them in office. And I thought that was such a powerful statement, Zeke. Am I being overdramatic about that?
No, not at all. I mean, it's very difficult to get people to turn out to vote for city council in general.
True.
It's always low voter turnout. But to go out and get about the same amount of votes, it's not even an election at all. It's some random, seemingly random. It's a very powerful achievement you guys did. And look, the city manager is unelected, all right? And he makes more money than the mayor does. And the biggest problem in this world for a very long time has always been these unelected officials. This country was founded on us having a representative republic and a democratic-style voting system to get those elected officials to represent us. So when we get guys like him, unelected officials, making all the shots, making all the calls, this is what we end up with. Horrible policy, horrible crime, not business-friendly. You guys got basically steamrolled, and it was horrible to see because I saw how hard you guys worked and how meaningful the mission was. And for them to just pencil whip and disqualify all these ballots in the face of you guys getting as many signatures as there are people that voted for them in the first place is it's quite sickening in terms of what we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis with these people.
Well, the deal is, and I collected 48 signatures. There are people that were in the hundreds. They worked so hard. And this is, what I did, I looked up the person on the voter roll so we could get the exact name, the exact address, make sure, and I would verify it with them so they could sign exactly like it was there. Okay, now, I'm not going to go into details because I don't know if it's going to go into further litigation or whatever happens. But I will admit to one error that I did because this person, everything was correct except when they signed, when they did their signature, they forgot to include their middle name. My question would be, though, I would love to go and see in all the past elections when they voted how they signed their name. I'm willing to bet because, you get to where, like, I have, my name is Alice Louise Lara, but typically I just sign Alice Lara. That's how I sign. And I'm willing to bet that we probably would find that signature to be the same. But anyways, we wanted to update you on that. Oh, I have to mention one more thing, Zeke. So Steve Coletti, who got up and made that observation about the votes, when he did that, he got a lot of applause. Okay, he got a lot of applause from the audience there in the chambers. But also, evidently, somebody also snapped their fingers, which I'm guessing was like they were agreeing.
It's
to,
probably
right?
one of them.
It might have been.
They did it on purpose.
But I think it was Counselor Bencomo, and I won't do my imitation. I'll be nice of her.
You do
But-
imitation, so what?
But in effect, she was not happy and told the mayor, "Mayor, you haven't, well, I'm not okay. You didn't allow the snapping of fingers before. I think kind of you should be consistent." I could be paraphrasing her words, and he just said, "Okay, well, let's be respectful." But if you go and listen to that clip, Zeke, have you heard it? You probably haven't heard it, huh? I didn't even hear a snapping of fingers because it was just so overshadowed by the applause. Somebody might have, I don't know because I wasn't there. They probably were snapping their fingers and looking right at her. I don't know. But, oh, just the attitude. Oh my gosh, please, okay? Not everybody can go to these city council meetings, but I just invite you to go to YouTube or go to the city council website and look at some of these, and you'll see that we're telling you what actually happens. And my husband had it perfect. Don't you think I shared this with you? Mark said, these people, they're not leaders, they're rulers. They think they're rulers, and unfortunately, I'm going to take Matisse out of there, but there's a few on there that it's too bad because they're supposed to represent us, and we are the bosses. And I think they've forgotten that concept, or they really just don't care.
Yeah, it's just so petty, the things that they're doing. And it's like, I think it's so upset when we go up there and we call them out and we clap when good points are made. And look, if you just did your job, fix the crime, deregulate, detax, that's what we know what works, that's the American way, then we would leave you the hell alone. But you don't. You overregulate, you overtax, and you're not fixing the crime. And it's not hard to fix the crime. You pay the cops more, you hire more cops. Chief Story's done a phenomenal job. You give him more responsibility if you can, and you go all in against the crime. I mean, it's the border as well. I mean, but it seems multifaceted, but it's not that complicated. What we have here is it's a trend that's going on nationwide. These cities are all blue. Even in Texas, the cities are by and large, sanctuary cities. The crime is out of control. City councils running amok. The district attorneys are all, many of them are backed by George Soros. So these problems are very easy to fix. They choose not to. They've chosen the path of deception and pettiness. And I say deception because here's the thing. They go up there and they say that they're for the people. Well, if you're for the people, you'd fix the crime. You're not for the people. That's deception.
It's like your main job, really.
It's like your main job, yeah.
Because like the President of the United States, his main job is to keep us a nation and protect us as a nation. And that's why I have so much respect because, bam, one of the first things done, the border. And that should be, you're absolutely right, Zeke. You're absolutely right.
And the crime, I mean, how hard is it to focus on the crime? It's not that hard, But see, even President Trump will go national a little bit right now. It's like he's having a hard time with the DOJ too. The DOJ guys, you got to be a little more patient with President Trump and the DOJ. The DOJ was one of the first institutions that they infiltrated decades ago, even before they created the FBI and the CIA. So we got to give him a little bit of time. There's some stay behind networks he's dealing with. There's still a lot of people. We just saw Cash Patel and Bongino lie their faces off to us, for who knows why. They still lied. I don't believe for a second that Epstein killed himself. I mean, the guards were falling asleep. There was nitric oxide in the atmosphere, apparently, allegedly. He broke his neck in 3 different places. That to me is not suicide.
Zeke, did you see there was a video and it was a language expert, which I love those. Like,
They reverse engineered Bongino on them, or
they,
what?
they were looking at, they study facial expressions
Yeah,
and things like that.
the expert, yeah.
And yeah, because I want to know too. I want to know. I really want to know.
They didn't have to. You just got to say,
See
look,
that.
we're investigating it. We'll keep you guys posted. Cool, man. Keep us posted, But don't go out and say.
I mean, what could be a reason? Yeah, I agree.
Well, they were probably under, a hostage. They're probably held hostage.
If it was a national, even if it was a national security issue or something, these guys are sharp enough and smart enough to have handled it a little better.
They're usually more crafty than that. And so to see them, they looked like they were being held hostage. They didn't look good. Bongino looked kind of pale, a little skittish. Patel, his eyes were wide open, and he's like, whatever he said. And so the body language, I've never seen them have such horrible body language in my life. I mean, that was a horrible PR stuff. I don't know what that was. It just wasn't good.
And just like the body language expert was talking about, very simple things like one of them, one side of their mouth when that happened. Oh, also, do you know what, too? They talked about the editing of the tape because that interview was with Maria Bartiromo.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, Bongino said, his answer, and then like she said, "Oh, that's hard work." Like something was cut out.
Oh, they cut it out. Yeah.
Something was cut out of there. So, and we talk about this too because somebody out there might say, "Well, it doesn't matter. They're just always going to support Trump and whatever. They worship him." We're going to call it as we see it. We are now.
Yeah.
I still think Bongino and Kash Patel, both of them, they're working hard.
They're solid.
I think they're working pretty hard, and they're probably doing a lot of good. But this, yeah.
Who
radar's up.
knows? Who knows? I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. I just don't agree with that particular situation. Is everybody absolutely perfect all the time? Hell no. But I think they could have just done a better job expressing their unwillingness to give us the facts of the case.
Maybe
I get
it was assisted suicide.
Look, the reality is most people don't even know. Suicide. People don't even know what really was going down on that island and what the tapes really were. People have no real clue. I do, and if anything, it should inspire you guys to learn more about it because if you can understand what's really going on with Mr. Epstein, the former or still alive, I don't know. It tells you a lot about this world, and really just you realize that the reason why they're so skittish and scared is because there's someone still alive that's on that list that don't want that list to come out. It's pretty simple. I mean, these are some of the most wealthy people on earth, and they have no morals. They have no shame. Obviously, they're hanging out with freaking crazy Epstein. How hard is it to, take somebody out if you really wanted to? I'm sure. I'm leaning more towards that they were threatened or they had some kind of issue going on behind the scenes that we have no clue about. But I still trust them overall. Mm-hmm. They keep giving me whammies like that. I'm not going to trust them.
Yeah, this is about the only one.
I don't make me comfortable.
This is the only one that I've seen so far. Have you seen anything else?
You know what it makes me feel like? It's like, the saying that true power is ultimate corrupting. It ultimately corrupts, right? It's like these guys get into a position of power, heavy power, and they're already lying to us. It's like, didn't make me feel good inside.
Well, and that's why, it's our responsibility because we're the bosses.
That's right.
To call them on it and do that. Any predictions about what's going to happen in the future? Because there's some highlight on this. People are, they can't afford to lose any credibility.
Well, I'm glad you asked because it seemed like when President Trump first got in, he broadcast and overlaid a bunch of things he wanted done with the DOJ, the FBI, everything. And he said, let's get it done. Boom. Like the Epstein stuff. And it just got bottlenecked real hard.
It did.
The Epstein and a bunch of other stuff got bottlenecked. And that's why I opened up the podcast with we got to be a little more patient with President Trump because I realized that the DOJ has been heavily infiltrated. And look, Doge could only do so much. They found $2 trillion in debt. The freaking Congress wouldn't do about 1.5 billion of it, which is like less than 10% of what they found. So it's like, look, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done, guys. And I don't think Trump's really going to actually come into full power, and his philosophy and his dream and vision for the world and for America isn't going to come to fruition until after he wins the next congressional elections here in about 2 years.
Yeah, there is so much, but at the same time, because this is your commander-in-chief, so it's not only the national issues and trying to fix election integrity, but the global issues as well. And considering all that, this is what, 100 and some odd days? And I forgot to bring my 47 report because it has all the accomplishments.
Oh, I love it.
So if when you consider all that, I'm willing to cut a little slack because you still see our president, you see POTUS, President Trump, almost every day he's on TV. He's doing an executive order. He just gave a West Point speech for Memorial Day. And by the way, we want to wish everyone a happy Memorial Day. And if you lost someone because of a war or something, my heart goes out to you and all the veterans. I know this is really for those who lost their lives.
Paid the ultimate sacrifice.
They really did. And we have a wonderful, wonderful park here. I'll give that to Las Cruces, right? The Veterans Memorial Park here.
That's actually a very impressive park, yes.
It's nice. If you haven't visited, I invite you to go there. It's on Roadrunner. And, I used to like to go walk my dog there. They've got a little wall. They have our local veterans on there. My dad's on there from World War II. But just, I hope, enjoy your family and, think about really keep the MAGA spirit going, make America great again, because it's worth it. And we owe it to those men and women. We really do.
Yeah, shout out to my Uncle Reyes. He was a POW.
Wow, POW.
Yeah.
Vietnam?
Vietnam. And yeah, they made a park after him. He paid the ultimate sacrifice too. Or was it POW or MIA? I think it was MIA. All I know is he jumped on a grenade and saved some lives. He saved some lives. Yeah, he jumped on a grenade.
Oh my goodness.
And he got a medal for that. Yeah.
Wow.
And they got a park named after him in Abilene, Texas. So shout out to you, Uncle Reyes.
And then I know I talked last time about my bracelet, but missing in action. And this is Jesus Gonzalez, missing since April 1968. So they know where he went down in Vietnam, but they never find the body. They never found the body.
That's so scary. I mean, these guys have so much balls.
There was I'm trying to remember who it was, and the amount of they were talking about like the former World War II, and I know that Mark's uncle. Mark's uncle was one of these guys. He joined when he was 16. And sometimes they would lie about their age, or I think they could join at that time if the parents would give permission.
They didn't even care if you had a diploma back then.
Can you imagine a 16-year-old joining the military? And it was because of the patriotic spirit. And when it's kind of like the greatest generation, it was the greatest generation.
That was the greatest generation. I was hanging out with a Vietnam vet over the weekend. We had lunch, and he survived. He was a tanker. He'd signed up for the military when I think he was 15, turned 16 maybe, and he didn't have a high school diploma. They just let you in. And he told them, I just want to be a tanker. Just put me on a tank and get me out there. So that's what they did. And he was telling me that one of the first things that his commander told him was like, don't worry about, getting shot or dying. He's like, because the bullet that's going to kill you, you're not going to hear it. So just get out there and do your job. So I love hanging out with Larry because he's got the most crazy, amazing stories. He's a legit Purple Heart Army guy, and it's just the amount of gratitude that we should have. Now we can get into arguments about proxy wars and bad agendas, but ultimately this country was founded on the spirit of fighting for God, fighting for freedom, fighting for country. And if we didn't have these soldiers who are crazy enough and ballsy enough and physically fit enough to get out there on the front lines and fight for God and freedom in this country, we wouldn't have a country. So in that spirit, we got to show them honor, especially on Memorial Day.
Absolutely. I also was just watching a report today. We're actually recording this show on Sunday, and it was saying how the recruitment is up. But it actually started to go up the last quarter of Biden's administration, we'll say. But I believe that a lot of that is probably because, the election was in November, so a lot of people knew that Trump was coming into office as well. But that's exciting because we need to replenish our source, and they're doing great things, I think, as far as the military. They're getting rid of some of this DEI stuff, and we're going to make the military great again as well. And we're going to spend money and rebuild and do what we have to do because America, we should be the strongest. We really should be, and there's no reason not to.
Yeah, we have a ton of work to do still. The military, I love the military. I always trying to support the military. I always push younger people who are considering the military. I got them through it.
And thank you, U.S. Air Force.
Yeah, Air Force veteran. I'm not. I was telling this to Larry over the way. He's like, yeah, you should be having your Iraqi freedom hat and all. Because he wears his Vietnam hat. I'm like, nah, man. I'm not a combat veteran. I think combat veterans should get the most respect and get.
But you need all the support of everybody else too.
Yeah, you do. But I personally have a particularly high regard for combat veterans because I did do some infantry training. I did do a lot of this, higher level stuff when I was in the Air Force. I tried to get into Ranger School actually, but I got deployed, so I wasn't able to go. It's extremely difficult to be a Special Forces member. I mean, you've got to be an athlete and you've got to be mentally strong beyond, comprehension for most people. So, yeah, if you guys know any combat veterans, if you lost a combat veteran in war, man, shout out to them, prayers to them. We wouldn't have this country if it wasn't for men like that and women. Even though there's seldom, but there are women who do kick-ass things on the battlefield. You got to give them props for what it is.
So happy Memorial Day. By the time you see our podcast, I hope that you've been spending it with your family, or maybe you're visiting some graves, and kind of continue that spirit. I really feel that we need to do that throughout the year, and don't forget, because it's very powerful. On the national level, I'm just, like we always talk about how it's so exciting to be alive at this time and things that are happening. And, every day, here comes Charlie Kirk. He comes up on my phone. And I just can't resist. I have to hear. I'm getting to where I'm putting it like the 1.5 speed because I want to hear it, but I don't have the 20 minutes, right? And he was debating some guy from England. And the dude was just dissing us, just saying, oh, your president's an idiot, da-da-da-da-da. And I'm sorry, but nobody can debate Charlie. Charlie's just got such a quick mind. He has those facts are accessible to him. And and all in all, his spirit is good. He never lambasts that person. He's not rude. I don't know how he does it. He's got to have a really, really good heart. But in the end, the guy was trying to tell him off. And of course, he was there in England. So there were people that were supporting the other gentleman. And the other gentleman was very bright. You could tell he was very bright and well-spoken. But in the end, he was telling him kind of like, well, you couldn't, and I'm paraphrasing, you kind of believe whatever you want to, Charlie was saying. Goes, but at the end of it all, you know what? We're still going to have a country. And you guys are going to be like a third world country. And it's really true. It really
That's so
is,
true, yeah. England's so far gone. I mean, that country's gone. All of Europe is gone. Europe, the EU, President Trump's going after the EU now, too.
Yeah.
And the EU, if you guys didn't know, is just comprised of a bunch of the oligarchs and totalitarian dictatorship regimes from the monarchs from centuries ago appointed to the EU leadership. That's all it is. The EU is the most evil regime, even more evil than China. If you really think about that.
Wow, that's powerful for you to say that.
Oh, yeah, they got the higher tariffs than China ever had on us, the EU. So now President Trump's going after the EU, and it's the same families that have been running things for centuries. Got to get rid of it. It's these unelected
That's why
officials.
we said goodbye.
Yeah, that's why we said bye-bye. And Europe still had to stay there, and just like Charlie Kirk said, you guys are screwed. They're not going to have any semblance of a country if they don't get any radical. If President Trump doesn't basically go in there and save their asses by getting rid of the EU and let them have their own government, or however they want to, I don't know what they're going to do, but the EU can't be around. Well, so now the EU is trying to coalesce with China to help, come after us again, but there's so much financial incentive for China to hang with us. We have all the power. We have all the leverage.
They need us.
We didn't have the person at the top to leverage that power. Now we do. And that's why you see every other country is falling to the wayside and getting on the Trump train. But we still have these locals over here talking crap about President Trump trying to banish MAGA Republican businesses. Ain't that something else? It's such a weird time to be alive, huh?
Oh, it absolutely is. I'm just going to look real quick because I also took a photo of something, and just because we're doing national. So the Big Beautiful Bill Act, okay?
Yeah.
There's some controversy about that. It did pass. Now it's going to go to the Senate. So it could still be changed, right? I mean, they could still tweak it and change things.
They can still alter it. Yep.
But here's kind of, I thought these are really good bullet points, so I took a photo of it off my TV. Permanent provisions for 2017 tax cuts, child tax credit boost, $2,500, 4 years. Permanent 23% pass-through business break. No tax on tips and overtime. That's a huge one.
That's baller.
That's a huge one.
If you ever worked overtime, you know that's baller.
Yeah. Enhanced senior deductions, $4,000 for 4 years. They talked about that because, they wanted to just get rid of all the tax on Social Security, which I still think is a good idea, but that's something. Salt cap lifted to $40,000. But, things are happening, and that's good. So keep watching, watch your good sources. Thank you for listening to us. We try to keep you posted on things that are important. And call your congressman or congresswoman and let them know what you think. If they're not doing the job that you want them to do, let them know you're not representing me, and here's why. Won't take you but a few seconds, or email them. something. It doesn't cost you very much at all. Okay, anything else more national before we switch?
No, I mean, to be candid, I've been studying this stuff for a very long time, and I realized, especially lately, that I'm years ahead of most people in terms of what I can see.
You've been following it a very long time.
Yeah, I can predict the future now, honestly, because it's just a pattern. It's a pattern, and so my struggle right now is staying in the present moment and kind of trying to make things more simplistic, so everybody can kind of be on the same page. But the reality is like this is a spiritual battle, guys, and I'm ahead of the game talking about this to you guys right now in Las Cruces, but the future will be it will be more focused on the spiritual aspects of consciousness. And so when you start seeing our local city council and our county commissioners rebuke or discredit or disparage prayer or people who go to church, that tells you right there that they understand that it's a spiritual battle. They know that it's other dimensional stuff going on here in this consciousness. We haven't caught up to that yet. They know that I know, which is why they particularly hate me the most. But when everybody starts to realize that, I think things are going to change a lot faster here for us here in Las Cruces. And that's why I was motivated as second vice chair of the Republican Party to have a monthly prayer for the community. And for this month of June, it might be regular at the Doñana Cowboy Church, there on Valley. And we'll be doing that on Wednesday, the 11th at 9 a.m., I believe, right? Was it, what time did we say?
I think it was 9 a.m.
It's 9 a.m. And so, and it's not like I'm promoting a certain religion or a certain philosophy. It's simply prayer. That's what the soldiers, thinking about people who died for our country, the soldiers that died in the Revolutionary War had chaplains, and they prayed together. Okay, it brought them together. It boosted morale. It gave them purpose. That's what made this country. And in honor of that, and in honor of just God and country, God is in the Declaration of Independence 4 times. We're going to have prayer because it's our right to have prayer. We have freedom of religion. We have freedom right to assemble. And we have a right to petition. And that's what we're going to be doing. So they can talk about taking away our prayer all they want, blah, blah, blah. Well, we're going to use our God-given constitutional right to pray together if we freaking want to.
That was really beautifully said. And just remember, that's basically why we became a country, because people were wanting to worship as they wished, and they came here. I remember getting into an argument with somebody a very long time ago, and they were all about, separation of, you shouldn't have God. You shouldn't say. I said, remember why we became a country? Hello.
It's mind blowing to people like us that people forget this stuff. But if you really think about it, it's like, yeah, people are just so disconnected. And I don't want to say it dumbed down because that's kind of a mean way to say it. Because it was against their will. They got people out of the womb. A lot of people didn't even have a chance. You know what I mean? So I feel for a lot of people, but that doesn't mean that we can let them just step all over our constitutional rights and they can try to disparage us for being religious or praying or going to church. I think that's just reprehensible behavior from our supposed elected officials. And it's going to backfire on them too. It already has. So just like I said before, the things that they do to us, they backfire quick. So.
And we're going to keep you posted on all these things. So it's June 11th, and shout out to my Republican Women's Club, Doñana County Federated Republican Women, and Tricia, the president. Tricia, how do you pronounce her last name?
I say Kian.
Kian, Quillen is how it's spelled. I need to get that correct, but she had me come up in front of the group for a few minutes, and one of the things that I said, because I truly believe this, it sets us apart from the far left, from the Democrat Party, if you will, because the Democrat Party not too long ago, they almost took God off their platform. And this is something where we do differ. We do. Our party is pro-life, and we're not afraid. In fact, I said, we're not afraid to talk about God. We open every meeting that we do at the Doñana County Federal Republican Women, every Republican meeting that we have, we say the Pledge of Allegiance, and we start with a prayer. We always have an invocation, and it's powerful. And so please, if you can attend this or spread the word, we'll be posting on Facebook and other places. Share it. You made a really nice poster about it.
Yeah, I made a flyer about it. I'll be sharing it more and more times. Hey, that's just a big part of who I am, who we are as a country. And I can talk about God all day because all I got to do is refer back to the Founding Fathers. And I understand the philosophy of deism. And I understand that it was in the Declaration of Independence 4 times. And I understand things at a philosophical level. And I can talk to an atheist. I can talk, most of these guys at the top, they're not atheists. They believe in God. You just got to learn about what God they believe in. atheism is not very strong if you look at it and look at the most smart, rich, powerful, cool. They all believe in some kind of God.
I think I know, or friends with, I should say, maybe one atheist, true atheist.
Yeah.
The other people are like agnostics. So the atheist that thinks no God, no God.
Right.
And the other ones just deny the existence. So like you say, they don't necessarily not think there's a God. They just kind of deny the existence. Maybe they're on a path or a journey to that.
Yeah. Well, I just think it's crazy when I see people who've become the most famous musicians or famous actors, or they got super wealthy, and at the end of the day, the people that I respect, they come out and they praise God, they praise the Lord. Like DMX, he was praising Jesus before he got killed, before he died, and he was a guy who rapped about selling his soul to Satan. It's a very popular songs that he came out with and talks about how he sold his soul, and he had all the money in the world, and there's a lot of guys like that. And even Joe Rogan's going to church now. Tucker Carlson,
He wasn't before.
No.
Because you've been following him a long time. I just
following Joe.
followed him because you told me about him.
He used to hate on religion. When he first came about, he was like kind of an atheistic kind of a guy. Now he goes to church, and that's just, and he's rich as can be. He's a billionaire, and so there's things in this world that are beyond material possession, and beyond this short life that we're here on this earth. The other world, the other dimension, in my opinion, is so mysterious, but at the same time, because of my faith, way more important than this short time that we're here on this planet. And that's how I live my life. Mm-hmm. And that's just me opening up, being candid with you guys, because it's a big subject right now. And we are doing this stuff, and I got a lot of pushback on it. I got a lot of pushback. You guys wouldn't even believe the kind of pushback I got.
Talking about God?
Well, just doing these prayers. And yeah, talking about God, but just doing these prayers with the community. Every time I do stuff like this, because I used to be really Buddhist and into yoga and stuff, and I tried to bring a big yoga festival together, get everybody to come meditate together. Just doing that, I got crazy pushback. So here I am trying to do it again, but from the Christian side, because I'm fully turned over to God. And I got the same pushback, if not more. So there's something about us coming together and praying and meditating together. They've done studies when people meditate together, they can reduce crime in prospective areas. That's a real study. So there's just the other dimension is more important, guys, and I can back that with scientific data. Will most guys talk to you about this? No. I will, because I've been studying it for a very long time, and I've experienced it, and I know about it. And so, and I just try to be as forthcoming with you guys as possible, because I don't think you're going to get that anywhere else besides our show. Right, Alice? I don't think you're going to get that.
And the pushback that you get, I mean, what is their main complaint? Are they afraid, or is it fear? What do you think?
I want to say it's mostly because people are averse to change in general, and it is somewhat of a radical change compared to what we've been as a Republican Party, to go into the church and to pray together with people from open to any denomination, to any race, color, creed, age. You can come and pray with us. That is such a radical change. I think that is what scared away a lot of us. Some people had them push back against me, and there could be other reasons too. To me, it's irrational. There was tremendous support, by the way. This wasn't just me being a dictator saying, look, we're going to do it. Now, I did it because everyone else wanted it, and I'm simply representing.
Great idea.
Representing everybody voted for it. Everybody wanted FRW, big fans of it. I'm just doing what the community wants, and we're doing it together. And so, it's weird that we have to even qualify this stuff, but it is what it is. And I hope that you guys can join us, and you guys listen to me for what I'm saying. And it's my testimony. It's my perspective on the world and reality and consciousness. You're not going to get this perspective from many other people on YouTube. I don't care. That's why I'm different. So we're different, because we tell it how it is, and we are as authentic as we possibly can be, because I think you guys deserve that. I think we all want that, right?
Absolutely. And we've talked about it before. I've even said, even since I've been back, it's 3 years this month. In a few days, it'll be our 3-year anniversary, coming back to Las Cruces. And even within my own church of St. Genevieve's, there are more people attending Mass, okay? I still would like to see more younger people, okay?
Yeah.
Because they're closer to my age typically. But I can say the pews are fuller, okay? Because I go to different Masses. I don't always go to the same Mass. And it's very encouraging to me. It really is. And I've heard other people comment about that as well. Now, I can only speak for the Catholic Church, but I think it's probably happening in all other churches as well, the Christian churches as well.
Well, our church is, blowing up. There are problems with churches here locally, but, to kind of piggyback off of you seeing more people and then, wishing there was a younger generation. I was at a restaurant over the weekend. I think I told you about it. And there was a group of girls eating together, and younger girls, and just they seemed very sweet, you know. And they had a Bible. They were studying the Bible together. And I'm like, it's a Saturday.
How old do you think they were? Like teenagers or?
18, 19,
Oh, okay.
maybe younger. And I'm like, it's a Saturday, and you girls are out here reading the Bible. And they're just like, yeah, amen. And you start quoting scripture, and I was blown away.
Out there in a public restaurant with their Bible. Oh my gosh.
It was mind blowing. And you know, I've just seen really cool conservative things. I've been meeting some really cool, amazing people lately. And that's why I'm not disillusioned when the city council and these guys put our business out there to try to despair. It's like, man, you guys are on the losing side. You guys are desperate. This is petty, and it's going to backfire. And when we get back in control, we cannot show any mercy. We have to prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law because that is what the Constitution dictates. Hasn't been done in a very long time, but it's about time because they've been running amok with our land, with our money, especially here in Las Cruces.
And essentially, you know, God wants you to fight evil. And this is about justice. It really is. So we're here to encourage you. We really are. Okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk. I got to sit next to, at our Republican Women's Club. We meet once a month. And if you have any interest in joining us or becoming a member, contact me, alicelada@hotmail.com. We do have, I think we have a group site, DACFRW. It's a great group of gals, but I got to sit next to our state chairman for the GOP, Amy Barela, and she was awesome. Janice Williams was there for a while. She had to leave. She couldn't stay for the full meeting. And then also I met the secretary, too. I had never met her before. And then Kim Skaggs, of course, was at the table as well, and she's past GOP. Was she head of the county, right? The
Yeah,
county
she was county chair. And
right. But very actively engaged women. And then who else? It was just a power table. I felt like maybe I shouldn't be sitting there. But Shona was there, Shona Neff. And Shona is now with the New Mexico State Federation of Republican Women. But one of the things I always put out when we go talk, we remind them about Chips and Salsa Show. And if you have any ideas or things we might be missing, you know, let us know. And one of the things, and we'll go into more depth on this probably on a later show, but Amy reminded me about HB4, which is a law that the governor signed, and it's giving a lot of money.
And Amy is a chairwoman of the State Republican Party.
Oh, sorry, I didn't say that, did I? Excuse me. And she's been around a long time. She's been on our show, and I told her, I should tell you this first. So I said, you know, you have an open invitation. We're getting ready to get our third mic. Probably in June, we'll be having guests again. And she says, okay. And she took out her phone, and she goes, whatever you can get in. And it was loaded with appointments, which you can imagine. You know,
She's I saw her at church today.
busy.
I'm like, I can't believe how amazing she is.
And she looked kind of like a Trump, okay? So because, you know, when you look at Trump's schedule or these people, they're busy. They're like it's a 24-hour job.
It's overwhelming.
And
Yeah.
they should look really tired and worn down. Nope, she looked bright and like she just jumped out of the shower and came over there and got ready to go. And this is a luncheon, so she'd already been doing who knows 1,000
She hammers
things.
it. Yeah, she hammers it.
But she did tell me, she said, HB4 and there's money that really should go to New Mexican citizens first.
And veterans.
And veterans, exactly. But evidently that's not happening. And that's because, you know, our governor signed this bill. The Democrats that we're outnumbered by in the legislature, there's a lot of bills, and we're getting kind of towards the end of our show, but maybe we'll devote like more of a show just to this. But if you really knew, and I do want to mention this, if you go to the New Mexico State website for the legislature, there's like the whole list of bills that have happened. And I thought, wow, there's a lot that were signed. And we have a short session here, okay? It's not like Arizona goes into, I think, April, and then sometimes they go a little longer. Did we have a special session? We didn't, huh?
No.
So in just a matter of a few weeks, kind of, a
They
lot
might
of
do a
stuff
false
was
flag and call a special session like they usually do. We'll see.
that could happen. But that's one that she said, it was HB4, and gosh darn it, I hope I have the number right. If I don't have the number right, I'll correct it. But just a lot going on. Here it is. So this is signed legislation by our governor, and you can find it on the state website. I'm just going to show you, as you can tell, I can scroll through. 2025 signed legislation. Those are a lot of bills, don't you think? For just a few weeks, and you think, oh, okay. No, it keeps going and going and going. I was going to mention like some that are there's some that are probably needed to be done.
So
But there's some that
all the fraud that Doge found and that we're still uncovering to this day, I'd be willing to bet. I'm a betting man that
You're a
New, Mex-
gambling man.
New Mexico has some tremendous amounts of crime going on in our legislature, in our local city governments. I mean, I'm not saying there is, but if I was a betting man, which I am, these people need to be investigated because we're the worst state in the country. We dump a ton of money into our education. The kids still get worse, and that's just a rock. Imagine if you keep digging, you're gonna find the mountain. That's what we see. Look at these bills. She's still scrolling.
I'm still scrolling.
She's
okay?
still scrolling. Look at this wasteful spending. There are all these bills, and our crime is still getting worse. Our kids are getting worse. The communities are falling apart. There is no business incentive. The doctors are leaving more than they're coming. But all these bills are out there doing what? Please, for the love of God, tell me, what are these bills doing for our state? Nothing, probably. They're doing something for something else. Who knows? We do kind of know, but I'm not going to get into that.
It looks like they hit everything too. I mean, just everything. Now, there is an election changes because, didn't they open the primary up? Right? So now we have open primaries, which we had those in Arizona, and I've kind of I don't agree with that because I think you should choose a side. Pick a side.
Anything they do is to favor Democrats,
Yeah, it seems so. But if you can, go there and you'll see that I'm not exaggerating. I mean, look, this
a
is
war on carbon.
2024. Just to show you, okay? I can scroll pretty fast through there and I'm done. But the 2025, it went forever and ever and ever.
Yeah. Well, they got to put them protections against President Trump's policies, I imagine.
That's probably what it was. This was all insurance to do that because they knew it was coming in.
Trump-proofing as much as they could.
Trump proofing, that's a good one. Okay, we're down to our last 5 or 10 minutes. I want to mention this too. I know this is back to local a little bit, but I just saw this and I haven't read the whole article. But Las Cruces is supposed to receive $13.8 million from the state for capital projects. So that's something to watch and see, is it really going to go where it needs to go? I don't know. A lot of the message that you see that Zeke and I are telling you is just kind of, don't necessarily even believe us. We want you to believe us, but check it out yourself, okay? We say stuff about schools or government. Make a phone call. Look it up. And you might see something that we don't even see in it and bring it to our attention because it's really hard to keep up with all that. And thank you again. A lot of people send stuff. I know they send stuff to you because it's hard to keep up with
people send me
everything.
stuff all the time.
I thank you very, very, very much.
And I love it too. I love it very much too.
Update also for the county party. I know you already talked about
Not too many
the
updates,
prayer.
just basically that right now.
Are we having a meeting anytime soon or anything?
Yeah, we're having an executive meeting here this next week, but that's executive committee stuff. It's pretty much standard now. We're just trying to find candidates. We're having a hard time finding candidates.
It's a call for candidates right now.
This community is just so jaded from we've been through so much as a community. We haven't got a Republican in office in quite a while. I want to say a decade.
And I think they're primed for it. I really do.
We haven't had a Republican city councilman in over a decade. I want to say I can't think of the last one that was.
Wow, really?
I can't think of one. I can't think of a Republican city or a county commissioner.
What about a mayor? Do we ever have a Republican mayor?
Maybe Reuben Smith. I think maybe he was a Republican.
I remember him from a long time ago.
But it's just the state's been controlled for a very long time. But hey, pressure makes diamonds. We've got a lot of positive things happening in our community. Republican Party's doing great. RFW, great organization. There's a lot of positive things coming about. Truth is coming out. President Trump came out, or his RFK came out, and so did Dr. Peter McCullough.
Yes.
And the vaccines were absolutely, killing more people than they were helping. Literally, that's what the data is showing. And all of the policies were absolutely horrendous. The masks, there's no studies behind that. The social distancing, no studies behind that. It was all just a way to control and to stifle President Trump and his visions at that time while he was in the presidency. And so people got to be held accountable. And our elected officials here in Las Cruces were pushing the vaccines. And now we know that they were very, very dangerous for people, for children. And they've been banned. Unless you're, I think, 65 and up, you shouldn't be taking that vaccine.
Wow.
And eventually, what I understand, they're going to be getting rid of them in totality. No vaccine at all, ever. So these people have committed a lot of horrible crimes. Our city council was a part of that. I mean, they can plead ignorance all they want, but they, we
It was
tried to warn
really
them.
bad here.
We
Huh?
tried to warn them. I tried to warn everybody. I said, don't do them. It's not good. And everybody said I was a crazy tinfoil hat guy. Well, hey, turns out that I was right. And that's not fortunate. I wish I wasn't right. I wish it wasn't even an issue. But I tried to save as many people as I possibly could. Children, the whole thing. I was protesting the school board because the school board was going to push it so the kids got mandatory vaccinated. I showed up with case law from California where they got it thrown out, and they threw it out. So you can say all you want about me as a person or whatever in this show. We've actually been on the front lines fighting for children, literally trying to save people's lives. So I'm not perfect. She's not perfect. But we earnestly are trying to help things and help the community. Like, we're not here to make a dime, even though we know there's like
We don't make a dime.
We don't make a dime.
Somebody
we
would
invest.
ask me, "Oh, that's a really good job you have." No, we don't make it.
No, we invest into it, because it's a service to the community. But anyway, that's my little 2 cents on corruption. I say the same thing almost every episode, but it feels good. It feels good to get out of my system.
Think about the vaccine. So they were pushing the vaccine on the kids. And then what happened? The kids couldn't even go to school. They weren't even with other kids.
That's right.
So, just when you start exploring the logic of why something was said or done, or at least question it. And one more thing I want to just talk about really briefly, and we may have talked about it before, but when I hear people from the radical left talk, do you ever notice, Zeke, and if I'm wrong, please let me know, but it really seems like when they talk, they say, I believe that this is how it should be, and we're talking politics and arguments and things. Now, I believe in God, but a lot of times things, politics and laws, I think this is a good lobby for that. Okay. Now, of course, I'm a big pro-lifer, so I can believe, I believe in God and pro-life. But I really think that we should, as conservatives, be cognizant of that. So when we're stating something, instead of using the term belief, because a belief is kind of a personal thing and doesn't necessarily mean it's a fact. Am I making sense to you? I don't know if I'm explaining it right. But really, I know when we talk, we think, or we have an argument, or Charlie Kirk, he's out there, and he's talking to people, and he's thoughts and facts. But a belief is somewhat different. When I use the term believe, it's like I'm saying the Nicene Creed or something.
Yeah.
It's a belief. It's something more personal.
Yeah, that's epistemology. That's the study of knowledge. It's like, do you have a justified true belief? It's you get into the philosophical aspects of.
That's a whole other show. It sounds like.
Yeah, epistemology was kind of my stuff. I actually really enjoyed studying epistemology. You really don't know what you know. You start to delve into what knowledge really is and what you qualify as something as factual. So yeah, I agree. You should be very careful with your language. It's very important. And belief is usually tied to something emotional, right? Instead of you want to stay like as a matter of fact. And I try to stay as a matter of fact as I can, because emotions aren't the best all the time, right?
Yeah, they can overpower you and not make you think correctly.
That's right. Yeah, you're not thinking. You're reacting. And we've really got to stay centered and grounded as much as we can. Stay in the logical prefrontal cortex of our brain, because that's the peak and pinnacle of humanity. We're not animals. We get to think and reason and enjoy things and be happy and have rationality. And emotions is something that's bestial. That's from the animals. So anyways, we're getting off on a philosophical tangent now. But I love you guys. I love that point. I can talk philosophy all freaking day. I really enjoy that kind of stuff.
We need to have like a whole column, future shows, and then boom.
Yeah, philosophy, the word alone makes people fall asleep. So that might not be the best show. But anyway, I'll end with a prayer. Lord, thank you so much for bringing us here today to share your message and to share positivity and truth with the community. And I pray for all the soldiers who have fallen for this country from the founding of this nation and the Revolutionary War up to today, Lord. And I pray for their families, and I thank you for their sacrifice. And I pray that the rest of this country pays tribute and honor to those who have fallen and paid the ultimate sacrifice. And I pray that you continue to bring this community towards a better future, Lord, and bringing us together in prayer and bringing us together for humanity, for safety. And I just can't be more grateful than to have another opportunity to be here in front of this camera for the community with Alice, Lord. Thank you so much for everything. Amen.
Amen. It's always very very nicely done. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So until next week, and have a nice Memorial Day. Make it the week.
Yeah, like, make it have a barbecue, do something cool, have some
Right.
fun.
Your
Later, guys.
family. Bye-bye.